to talk a little bit of boxing. We're going to talk about Oscar Valdez and failed drug test from Valdez. He used a stimulant. It's called phentermine or phentermine. Um, and this is a weight loss stimulant. It kind of shuts down holistically the nervous system. And because it's a stimulant, it also increases heart rate, so on, but it also decreases appetite, so it helps someone with weight loss. And in addition to that, it also um, can be used in competition, of course, to let it be more sharp and so on, probably also in training. Now, Oscar Valdez came out and said how, he made a statement that, he keeps generally all of the um, he's always been somebody who abided by the laws of, the anti-doping agencies, and that that's his history, and therefore he's very glad that the Arizona Commission, Boxing Commission, has allowed him to carry on with his fight. Now, let me be straight with you guys. Um, First of all, it's a it's a it's a it's a um, banned substance in competition. Okay, I went to WADA's website and I checked it out. Now, what in competition means is a very good question. Uh, how Oscar Valdez, his management interpreted that was the night of the fight. I disagree. I believe that it gives a fighter advantages. Also, once a fight has been made, I believe that's in competition, in my personal opinion. And since it's a weight loss drug, it obviously gives the person an advantage in terms of managing their weight, as well as it'll also give them an advantage in training of getting them sharpened up. And the fact that it actually was detected in his A and B samples after the fact of you know him having it, it's been in the system a couple of days. So I disagree with it only being in competition, only being the night of the fight. I disagree with that, especially if somebody's been using it in their system in a very continuous manner. It's going to stay in the system for quite a while and build up in the system. So I totally disagree with that. Um, so I think that Oscar Valdez, and of course the VADA has a no tolerance policy. So once that was detected in the system, they have banned that drug. It doesn't matter in competition or not in competition. Water rules say in competition. Well, what does in competition mean? And I want to. I don't know if I'm still recording here. Something just happened on my phone, but I want to interpret that as being where someone has gotten a fight. They're not in between fights. You've gotten a fight. I think it's in competition from there on in. And that's my because you can have an accumulation of the drug in your system, and we've seen that over and over again. If you guys know anything about pharmacy, but a lot of you don't because you didn't come from a healthcare background. So I do not like that, and I think VADA also they have their rules where this is not just in competition, meaning the night of the fight. In competition, once you got a fight coming up, maybe you can use it outside of competition, but in competition, no. Okay, so let me just go through that. So I think the WBC should have penalized, overridden the Athletic Association or uh, the Boxing Association or in this case, it's uh, the hell they call it, the Athletic Commission. They should have overridden them and banned him or stripped him of his title. Um, I don't care if he says it's in the tea or whatever. You're supposed to be paying attention to whatever you put inside of your body, as well as you should have a cook or a chef or someone, a nutritionist, who's handling your business. So he should be banned. He should be stripped. Okay, that's what should happen. And the WBC is not doing that, and that, my friends, is where nepotism comes in. And we've seen it with the WBC, with the franchise championship with Canelo. We've seen it with the WBC with clenbuterol now. Even the water rules had changed for clenbuterol. Okay, they did change their rules for clenbuterol. Nonetheless, Vada caught Canelo with clenbuterol, and this guy was, A and B samples were caught with that, and now it really changes my opinion about Canelo. It changes my opinion about the Russos because Louis Neri was also in the Russo uh, in the Russo in the Russo camp when he was caught using again some sort of PED, and that's not. I mean, that's not coincidence. Okay, so it does have my eyebrows raised, and there's a red flag there. This leads us to Caleb Plant's long rant, as well as Javante Davis, as well as Devin Haney chiming in, saying what we kind of all are suspicious of as well ourselves, that the Russo camp seems to have something going on in there. And I thought about also Cal Brook and the camp he was with, and he's going back with his trainer. And also those guys would keep on, coming up dirty in that training camp. And I think if you have a training camp and guys are coming up dirty in your training camps, it's either something's wrong with your camp, or all those guys are talking with each other and coming up with something different. But something's wrong somewhere. Okay. And I find it very strange. Andy Ruiz looks in great shape, and again, I'm thinking, these guys are losing weight and they're looking really good losing weight. And so, it just has me very suspicious. I don't know. It's just a suspicion. It really taints the perception of the fighters. Already the clenbuterol thing kind of tainted Canelo's the perception of Canelo. And I'm gonna say this: I'm gonna side with any anti-doping agency that finds these guys dirty. If the anti-doping agency is finding you dirty, if they didn't make a mistake or anything like that, you're dirty. You know, and I have no mercy on nobody, especially coming off this weekend where this the 19-year-old Mexican woman was killed in the ring. I have no mercy for these people because if you're cheating, you're cheating. And I don't care if all of you are cheating. If you're a cheat, you're a cheat. Anyway, this goes to Caleb Plant versus Canelo Alvarez. Okay, so I want to say straight up that Canelo Alvarez versus Caleb Plant is going to be a good fight. Like I said before, Canelo's not walking over Caleb Plant. I can guarantee you that. Um, and Caleb Plant has words of war to Canelo. He's waging mental war, all kinds of war on Canelo right now. And some people are, berating Caleb Plant for that and thinking that Canelo's going to put a beating on him. He's not going to put a beating on Caleb Plant. He's not. I can guarantee that. And the reason that Caleb Plant has so much confidence, he can say so much things, because he knows Canelo cannot put a beating on him. And you guys are going to see this, right? And I say this with the utmost confidence that Canelo will not put a beating on Caleb Plant. He will not stop Caleb Plant. He will not. I don't care if he's using PEDs from PED heaven. Just like what happened with Tyler Woodley versus Jake Paul, that more likely might happen. You might see Caleb Plant walking down Canelo, and y'all be shocked. Why? How is Caleb Plant walking down Canelo? That's all I got to say about that. Now, with respect to uh, with respect to uh, Conor Benn, he had won his fight against Adrian Granados. Adrian Granados boxed instead of going toe to toe, so Conor Benn had a little bit more difficulty fighting him. And I thought it was very impressive. Uh, Adrian Granados' strategy. Conor Benn didn't expect it, and that's the way to go. Conor Benn is saying he should have stood toe to toe with them. No, nobody ain't supposed to do nothing. This is boxing. They have different styles. You should know how to adapt and handle different styles. If you wasn't ready for that, that's too bad. And I'm tired of hearing boxers talk about he ran, he ran, he ran. If he ran, catch him. If he ran, catch him. It's a ring. It's not a home stretch where you're running a sprint and the guy can get away from you. It's a ring. So for those boxers who tell me he ran or whatever, learn to cut off the ring. Learn to cut off the damn ring. I'm tired of hearing boxers come out here and tell us, oh, he ran, he ran. If he ran, catch him. If you can't catch him, that's your problem. Okay? Don't tell me he ran. Don't tell me that. Not everybody's going to go toe to toe with you, or they will choose when they want to go toe to toe with you. And you got a problem with that, that's your problem. Oh, I want to give the fans an exciting fight. Then go find him, catch him. You'll have an exciting fight. He'll have to fight you. So at the end of the day, I'm tired of hearing that. But Conor Benn, of course, doesn't have the skill set or the experience to deal with Adrian Granados. So he said that. He made that excuse. And I think it's an excuse. He did win the fight, though. Kudos to Conor Benn on that and his win. We're going to Katie Taylor versus whoever she faced, and we'll see how she does there. But at the end of the day, I'm tired of hearing fighters say, oh, he ran and he ran and he ran. But he can do whatever he wants. It's a fight. Whatever he has to do to win, you should be ready for everything. You said you was ready for everything, right? You said whatever he brings to the table, I'm ready for. Well, you're showing that you're not ready for everything he brought to the table. Okay? He wasn't ready for that. And in boxing, there's no excuses. You got to be ready for anything. Anything can happen in there. You could get dropped. You could get hit in the head, and you can't see. Anything can happen in there. You have to have something for every situation so you can get the W. All right, enough of that. Now the next thing is the Zone put out rankings of I think the greatest or the best fighters in the last 30 years, and they rated Manny Pacquiao over Floyd Mayweather. Now I don't know if it was greatest they used or best, whatever they used, who cares? Now since it's the Zone, I guess some people are gonna see it and they're gonna look at the rating. And Pacquiao was put ahead of Floyd. Now, me personally, I'd just like to know what's your reasoning behind it. I'm not mad if you put Pacquiao ahead of Floyd in anything, to be honest with you personally, because it doesn't really matter to me. It's an opinion. And a lot of things in boxing, as Jeff Mayweather said, are opinions. Even though you can use facts to express the opinion. All right? And of course, it depends on the context. In what context are you speaking about Pacquiao being greater than Mayweather or Pacquiao being better than Mayweather? Okay? So there's a context you can use. I do not know what the Zone's on is. Me personally, I think that Floyd. I've amended what I thought. I used to think that Floyd was better than Pacquiao, and Pacquiao was greater than Floyd. I've since amended that, and I believe that Floyd is both greater and better than Pacquiao. Okay, and I have my reasons. Okay, so again, it depends on what perspective and what angle you're coming from with Pacquiao. Max Kellerman talks about all of these weight classes that Pacquiao went through, much more weight classes than Floyd. Pacquiao has been fighting much longer than Floyd. Okay, he's a much longer longevity than Floyd. He's won more world titles in more weight classes than Floyd. He has been a world champion at an older age than Floyd. He has started boxing earlier than Floyd, pro boxing that is. He doesn't have an extensive amateur background than Floyd, and he still did so well. So there's many things. Just style, his unorthodox style is not something that was learned. Even though he's learned things, he's more instinctual than Floyd. You can talk about for some people, for the general audience, or general public might say he's a more exciting fighter than Floyd. It's not to say that Floyd's not exciting, that his fights are not exciting, but that you can say that. And if you're coming from those particular perspectives, how can I say you're wrong? I can't say you're wrong. It depends on what perspective you're coming from. You can, with greater, you can do all kinds of things. All the stuff that Manny Pacquiao does outside of boxing. You can go as you want to go. When you're talking about better, however, you're talking, I think, about the accomplishments in the ring. You know, and in that respect, more than Floyd Mayweather, I believe. He's done more than Floyd Mayweather. He's did, much more fights, prime fighters. He's faced a lot of much more tier guys. He's faced them, and I'm saying he beat them. I'm saying he faced them. This is true. More world champions. He's faced more world champions than Floyd. However, Floyd has beaten Pacquiao. I think he's beaten the better quality of, meaning that he has beaten Pacquiao himself and Canelo Alvarez. Those two already Trump Pacquiao has ever faced. But even so, you just go through the listing and you look at the conditions under which Floyd faced common opponents of himself and Pacquiao. Even with Juan Manuel Marquez, when Floyd at a certain pinnacle point, Marquez was pound for pound the number 2 fighter in the world when Floyd faced Marquez when he was number 2 pound for pound. He did face him twice. He faced him when he was lineal super featherweight WBC champion. I mean, these are great things, but he never faced him when he was at that pound for pound status. You know, that's the thing about Marquez. You know, Floyd faced him when he was pound for pound. And when you're a pound for pound fighter, you know, a lot of people like to say, well, Marquez was too small for Floyd, catch weight, and blah, blah, blah. That's bullshit. Marquez was pound for pound number 2, where Pacquiao was pound for pound number 1. You know why? Because Marquez was just jumping up in weight classes in people's ass. So that's why Pacquiao did to beat Floyd. Because if he had beaten Floyd, he'd have become pound for pound number 1. He'd have surpassed Pacquiao. And Pacquiao would have had to face him. Because Pacquiao, the pound for pound number 1 fighter in the world. And when he couldn't, former pound for pound number 1 fighter in the world to face him. That's what happened. See, a lot of people don't know this. Anyways, but my point anyway is not that. Is Floyd faced quality guys. Quality now. When you're talking about quality, Mayweather's 50-0 is pure quality. Pure quality. Okay? When you're quantity, Manny Pacquiao's resume, quantity-wise, blows Floyd. Quantity-wise. Quantity-wise. All right? For quality, that's Floyd all the way. Floyd has beaten more world champions than Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao has beaten 22. Okay? Floyd has had 26 consecutive championship wins. The amount of championship wins consecutively by anywhere. That matches Joe Louis, and it also matches Cecilia Brækhus. But unlike Cecilia Brækhus and Joe Louis, he did the next fight that was not a championship fight. He won it. Now, there's a lot. There's a lot with Floyd. So basically, this is what it comes down to. It comes down to quality versus quantity. Okay? I think excitement is in boxing. So for me, because I box somebody who wants to go into that ring, Floyd is more exciting to me than Manny. Because when I see Floyd do a new move I never seen before, it really impresses me. Whereas with Manny Pacquiao, he does the same thing every single fight. You know, that after a while wears off. It's exciting, but he does the same thing every single fight. Whereas Floyd makes adjustments. He may fight a guy on the inside, outside. He may fight a guy in mid-range. He may fight you going forwards. He may fight you in the center of the ring. He may fight you off the ropes. He has a lot more variety. How he throws his combinations is very varied. Pacquiao's just, he gets you. He just starts throwing punches. Floyd doesn't just throw punches. He puts combinations together. It's a work of art. So, for me, Floyd is a much more exciting Pacquiao's because I actually want to do this stuff and I put it into practice. That's why I always advise fans out there, you don't have to know extensive knowledge in boxing, but if you start to box yourself, appreciate what some of the more refined what he was doing. Sugar Ray Robinson, what he was doing. Colonel Whitaker, what he was doing. Floyd Mayweather, what he was doing. James Toney, what he was doing. You know, it not only looks flashy and it's interesting, but there's a lot that goes behind it to even get what they're doing. You know, it's very difficult to do. So, when you look at Floyd and Pacquiao, it depends on how you're looking at it. Manny Pacquiao, like I said before, quantitatively speaking, dominates everything. But when you talk qualitatively, we had the Mayweather era because Mayweather beat everybody, including Pacquiao. It was because he was prepared to do it. He'd been a world champion 18 years. All right, you're talking about 18-year world champion. In fact, when he first retired, when he finally retired from boxing in 2015, the pinnacle of the sport, he was pound for pound number 1, world champion. He had, I think it was 2 of the 4 belts. He got stripped of 1, right? So at the end of the day, it didn't really matter because he was retiring anyway. The point is that he was at the pinnacle of the sport. If you really think about it, he was never dethroned by Manny Pacquiao. From the time he in 2005, when he became the pinnacle guy in the sport, until he retired 10 years later, he had been at the pinnacle of boxing. That's something Pacquiao can never say. Talking about Mayweather and Pacquiao, Mayweather's in a whole different class to Manny Pacquiao in that respect, right? But when you talk about new things Pacquiao has accomplished, and even now in his life, the amount of things, you know, he may become the president of the Philippines, you know, that in and of itself is let's talk about this. Floyd never experienced certain things. He never boxing and had to bounce back, right? He took many pounds and stuff, like he had to come from behind, or a guy was beating his ass and he had to figure him out. He never, like, Pacquiao was knocked out cold. You know what I mean? He was knocked out cold in his fight with Marquez, right? He was knocked out cold against Cincerat, right? Hit him in the stomach and that was it. He was gone, right? Cold against a guy before he became world champion, right? He was knocked out cold, like couldn't move nothing, right? And yeah, you gotta knock him out cold like that, otherwise his engine's gonna keep running. And he better. And that's just Pacquiao. When I think of what Pacquiao accomplished also in the later aspects of his career, it's enormously crazy. He was 38. I mean, he was old. Okay, he's an old guy in the sport of boxing, 38 years old. You know, on his way out the door, that's when he faced Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao kept going and beating these young fighters. 6 when he beat Timothy Bradley again. 37 when he beat Jesse Vargas and Luke. 38 when he beat Adrian Broner. He was on the verge of being 39. Keith Thurman. And if I gotta say anything to you guys, Keith Thurman was the best win of Manny Pacquiao's career, barring Marco Antonio Barrera. And Thurman are two of his greatest wins. And why it's so great win against Thurman is a greater win than Marco Antonio Barrera is because he's 40. Get out of here. He was 40 years old. I thought he dropped Keith Thurman. And Keith Thurman was wailing on him a bit and then turned the tables with that body shot, you know? And incredible. There's no other word to describe it. That was incredible. That was bad.